Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Trinidad and Tobago's general elections are over and the winner is... When we return, that story takes the lead in our 917th edition of Caribbean Perspective for Tuesday, 11th August 2020. Details after this important message.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. The PNM has won Trinidad and Tobago's general elections based on preliminary results as declared by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley. The Elections and Boundaries Commission has not given any official word as yet. Based on the results, in 2015, the PNM would have won 23 to the UNC's 18. And based on the 2020 results, the opposition was successful in winning one seat from the PNM, with the results being 22 to 19. The lead of the UNC, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, has not conceded, saying that she will request a recount in 3 seats, the results of which were close in her opinion. At around 10:10 p.m., Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley addressed supporters at Balisier House, declaring victory ahead of the EBC's official preliminary results. He reiterated that 21 seats bring victory to his PNM, which was successful, with 22, which means they're clear winners. As the days proceed and the recount is complete, may Trinidad and Tobago's democracy prevail, and may the people of the Twin Island Republic benefit. Due to the nature of this election, we can consider it a developing story, which we will cover in greater details in a subsequent broadcast. Still on Trinidad and Tobago, the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Roshan Parasram, assured citizens that the risk of COVID-19 spread is at the cluster stage and not community stage. TV6's Nicholas Lachman Singh has more.
For now, we maintain the cluster spread. Community means that there's extremely widespread spread throughout the entire country, meaning that you can go to any locality in the country and possibly be at the same risk of developing COVID. That's not the case at this point. However, we continue, it is a continuum. So we continue to look at the numbers, where they're coming, see if there's an epidemiological link every day to determine if that definition going from cluster to community needs to change.
As such, the CMO said that recommendations for rolling back measures or rolling forward initiatives will be done as needed, but added what is needed is a change in the behavior of people taking personal responsibility for their health.
The primary goal at this time is to get persons to take personal responsibility for their behavior. We ask that there's an individual level of responsibility that has to happen, with particular reference to social distancing and wearing of masks, which are essential. We have seen countries in other parts of the world have a fully open society, and because of 90% compliance with wearing of masks alone, as a single public health measure, they were able to drop their caseload to very insignificant numbers.
Dr. Parasuram said we need to get used to the new normal until there is a vaccine or specific treatment for the coronavirus. And because of that, restricting the country each time there is a spike in numbers would be counterproductive.
We need to learn behaviors. We can't be punitive every time we see a few cases come up here, there, and everywhere and close everything in society. It has to be measured and it has to be taken, but we are trying to create a behavior change in the population. Without the behavior change, even if we roll back, there will be clusters and will be continued spread in the country.
Nicholas Lachman Singh, TV6 News.
Over in Guyana, President Dr. Irfan Ali on Saturday said a forensic probe would be conducted into the problems surrounding the disputed March 2nd regional and general elections that eventually led to him being declared winner of the presidential poll and the main opposition People's Progressive Party PPPC defeating the coalition, a Partnership for National Unity APNU administration. Very importantly, we will pursue the necessary reforms to make our democracy stronger and our electoral process more transparent, Ali said at his inauguration as he announced plans for the forensic probe into the recent polls. He warned that those found culpable would be punished. Ali was declared head of state last Sunday after the Guyana Elections Commission GCOM accepted the report reluctantly filed by the Chief Elections Officer Kevin Lowenfield based on the national recount of votes that had been supervised by the Caribbean Community CARICOM. The declaration by GCOM ended 22 weeks of legal actions by the APNU that had contended that there had been many irregularities during the polls and has since indicated it will be filing election petitions contesting the declarations by GCOM and declaring the PPPC the victors in the election. Speaking at the National Cultural Center, Ali thanked CARICOM, the United States, Canada, Britain, and the European Union, as well as the international observers such as the Organization of American States, OAS, the Commonwealth, and the Carter Center for their role in ensuring the preservation of democracy in Guyana. He made particular reference to former Barbados Prime Minister Owen Arthur, who led the Commonwealth Observer team but died on 27th July from heart complications in his homeland. President Ali described Arthur as a true friend of Guyana, a man committed to justice and to right, a warrior in our cause, adding, he was one who put our country before he put himself in his determination that democracy should not die in Guyana, nor should our people be deprived of their political rights. Ali said that Arthur is among the names of people who will form a lexicon of heroes of our nation. The inauguration ceremony was attended by newly elected President of Suriname, Chandrika Prasad Santokhi, and Edmund Hinkson, Special Envoy of Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley. In his address, President Ali said Guyana is grateful CARICOM stood by our side and has promised that under his leadership, Guyana, a founding member of the 15 Regional Integration Movement, will play a more significant role in CARICOM.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
Liat's administrator has gone to work in restructuring the regional airline. As steps are made to save the airline, difficult decisions will have to be made. ABS's Jessica Russell reports.
There'll be a reduction of staff at Liat. Speaking on his weekend show, Brown and Brown, Prime Minister Gaston Brown says the administrator will determine who stays and who goes.
The administrator too obviously will have to further reduce the staff complement. There are 100-something people who are still employed by Liat. But based on the fact that the companies are trading, he now has to go through that 100 and 100 plus individuals and determine how many will be required in the meantime.
The Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court appointed Cleveland Seaforth as administrator in late July to oversee Liat's restructuring. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister says arrangements have been made to pay Liat staff last month's salaries.
The government of Antigua and Barbuda had agreed to make $1 million available. Well, just over $1 million, $2.8 million. For half of it will go to the administrator to assist with the expenses in the interim. And 1.4 million of it will go towards paying the staff, I believe, for July, the salaries and wages for July, those who remained employed with Liat.
It's expected the airline will be reorganized within 90 days, but the Prime Minister says Liat could possibly offer limited flights before then. Jessica Russell, ABS News.
Political analysts in Jamaica are keeping a close eye on election in the marginal seat of Northwest St. Anne. The extra outlook comes as constituents will see a third candidate vying for the seat. O'Shane Masters of TVJ News picks up that story.
The People's National Party, PNP, has won the St. Anne Northwest seat on more occasions than the JLP has. Since the seat was first contested in 1962, the JLP has won on 4 occasions, 1980 with Princess Laws, 2002 with Verna Parchment, and 2007 with Othniel Lawrence. The party also took the seat in 1983 when the PNP boycotted the general election. But the Jamaica Labour Party's caretaker for the constituency, Crystal Lee, is adamant she will take the seat from the PNP's Dr. Dayton Campbell.
I see myself definitely winning the seat and bringing it home.
She says this is evident as some constituents are not pleased with the representation from the two-term MP.
And I'm not seeing that work and effort from the Member of Parliament. We're seeing roads where the conditions are very bad, and I'm not seeing that as well. I'm not seeing where the effort is being placed to build the communities and work with the people.
We've always been putting in work. When we look at the politics, it's all about the organization of the constituency, which we've always been focused on. Throughout the term, when they were targeting, we were also targeting the constituency.
But there seems to be trouble in the PNP camp, as one of its supporters has broken ranks with the party. Businessman Peter Shan says he too is not satisfied with representation of Dr. Campbell. He says the MP has not been vocal in taking the plight of the people to Parliament.
When you go around and listen to the farmers' plight, I tell you, it's appalling. Fertilizers, seeds, these are the things that they need. When you think of the COVID, if you don't try to feed ourselves at this time, we are going to be in big trouble.
But despite the challenge, the PNP says it has full confidence in Dr. Campbell.
We are not worried about the independent candidate in the race. We're not worried about any other candidate. We are focused on running our own campaign, and Dayton is running a solid campaign. Remember that they say that no weapon formed against me will prosper. It means that the weapons will form, but they won't prosper. The fact of the matter is that the people of the constituency know that we have put in the work. They know why persons are doing what they're doing, and we're not being distracted by that.
But for the independent Shan and the JLP's Lee, MP Campbell is all talk and no action.
What I'm hearing on the ground from the people is going to put me there. They say it's the first time in over 20 years they have seen a person come and put their money where their mouth is.
The people of Northwest St. Ann, it has been a constituency that historically, they vote for their voices to be heard. If they believe that they are not being represented well, they have always voted for that, and I can tell you that is a sentiment on the ground. The people are tired of persons sitting in Parliament and not representing them well, doing the work to build the community, and they are ready to go out and make their mark.
Machine Masters, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, Milton Walker tells us that Clarendon's Custis Williams Shigori says Jamaicans visiting from overseas are contributing to the spike in COVID-19 cases in Clarendon.
Clarendon Custis William Shigori is speaking at an Independence Day flag-raising ceremony in Maypen hours after the community of Sandy Bay was placed under a quarantine.
Come for funeral for 4 or 5 days, leave the phone at home and all over the place. The Salt River but is another problem. You pass there today and you have 300, 400, or 500 of them in the bath. Like so. When you look, you see one poor police car out there. You need a whole battalion to get them out of the water.
The quarantine will run for 14 days and end on August 20 at 6 a.m. It's the second community in Southeast Clarendon to be placed under quarantine since the coronavirus was detected in Jamaica. Cornpeace was placed under quarantine from March 19 to April 17 after a 79-year-old man from the area died from COVID-19 related complications.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.